Hello, dear participants, dear distinguished guests. We are very happy to reach the final day of the Etnomüzikoloji Symposium on Women and Music. First of all, I would like to thank to all the participants, to all the organizers that make this event a very valuable scientific event. And I would like to thank to everybody who had contributed to this wonderful scientific organization. And again, I would like to use this opportunity to also remember our lovely instructor, Professor Şehvar Beşiroğlu, on whose name this organization is dedicated to. The final event, the final session is an international one in every sense. We have guest speakers from 4 different countries, and it's a great pleasure to have them here in our symposium. And without wasting the time too much, I will try to start the session by giving the short biography of the first speaker, who is Ivona Opetcheska, Tatarchevska, a very valuable speaker from Macedonia. I would like to give a short, brief introduction about his works. He is an expert on intangible. She's an expert on intangible cultural heritage. Also, he is the head of the Department for Intangible Cultural Heritage in the Cultural Heritage Protection Office of the Ministry of Culture of the Republic of Macedonia. Between 2007 and 2009, he worked as a lecturer at the Music Academy, University St. Cyril and Methodius, Skopje, and his subject was ethnochorology. And before that, she was an assistant researcher at the Institute of Folklore Research, Marko Jepenko, again in Skopje. He is currently a PhD student at the University of Zagreb, Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences. She holds degrees in etnomüzikology, ethnology, and anthropology as a bachelor's degree and Master of Sciences degree. He is a member of International Council for Traditional Music, International Society for Ethnology and Folklore, and he is a member of Composers Association of Macedonia. She has a very strong professional background in intangible cultural heritage, musicology, and composition. So I would like to give the word to Miss Ivona Opetcheska Tatarchevska. The stage is yours, Ivona, please.
Sanırım yayından koptu. Şu an göremiyorum kendisini.
We cannot unfortunately see Ivona in the broadcasting now. Maybe she has a connection problem. So let's wait a while, and if the problem continues, we can skip to the second speaker. She was just here a while ago, but I think we have an unfortunate time at the moment about the internet connection. Dear Özlem Hocam, we should skip to the other speaker, or how do we prefer?
However you want.
Okay. Still, she doesn't exist, so let's skip to the second speaker and leave Ivona to the second place when her internet connection is all right. And we will now, I'm just checking, yes, he is here. He's here, Dr. Bayo Ogunyemi, and I will try to skip to his talk now. And I will first open his short biography. Welcome, Dr. Bayo Ogunyemi. I will now give a brief introduction about his background. He is Ogunyemi Adebayo Oludare. He possesses a doctorate of philosophy in music. His areas of specialization is etnomüzikology. He is currently lecturing in the Department of Music, Mountain Top University. It is a privately owned university situated along Lagos. Ibadan is in an expressway to Lagos, Nigeria. His research interests are Yoruba musical heritage, music business, African musicology, and Afro-American music tradition. So we are very happy to have Dr. Bayo Ogunyemi around us, a great expert on African musicology. So please, the stage is yours, Dr. Bayo Ogunyemi.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Do you want me to present, or because I've sent the video of my presentation to you?
Yes.
Which one do you want?
I think Professor Varlı will operate this talk now, and I will give you the name of your presentation.
Okay.
Okay. Music Ensemble and the Social Organization of Traditional Yoruba Society. I think Professor Varlı, yes, she started now. We are listening to Dr. Bayo Ogunyemi's presentation.
My name is
I'm so sorry. Try again.
Welcome to the Women Place in the Arts Symposium, organized by the Association of Etnomüzikoloji, International Music and Women Symposium. My name is Ogunyemi Adebayo. I'm of the Department of Music, Mountain Top University, Magbo, Lagos Ibadan Expressway, Prayer City, State Lagos. The title of my paper is Women, Music, Ensemble, and the Social Structure of the Traditional Yoruba Society. The women fall in Yoruba forms a part of the community engagement in the business of forming and sustaining the society. These women employ spoken verses, chants, song tests, imagery, anecdotes, and other modes of oral literature and verbal art in shaping the society. Femininity, like masculinity, as an integral part of the musical art in Yoruba land, has a fundamental place in the organization of the society. This article intends to detail the place of Yoruba women in the organization of the Yoruba society using their musical art. Focus will be on the traditional music of some own and patron by women. Critical examination of some texts of some selected women music ensemble will be done with a view of knowing the relevance of the musical and the lyrical content to the sustainability of the society. We'll be using a musicological approach. The paper relies on archival sources to
Another person will present. What I'm going to use. After 10 minutes, the next question.
The paper actually argues that the women feel like the American are an integral part of the social formation in Yoruba land, as evident in their musical arts. The Yoruba people are commonly found in the southwestern states of Nigeria. There are 6 states, but they are actually found even outside Nigeria. Yoruba diaspora, they are found as far as Brazil. As currently the population of Yoruba people are over a million worldwide because of the trade transatlantic. Yoruba people are far over. They are organized a network of villages, towns, cities under the rulership of a man called the Oba. Oba is usually a man. Music plays an integral part in the philosophical life of the Yoruba society from before birth and after. Music is involved in day-to-day activity, from farming to talking to everything people are thinking about music. In any way, there are ensembles, there are vocal, instrumental music, and all sorts in Yoruba. Music for everything, very functional music. But the Yoruba society is also viewed as very patriarchal, that is dominated by man. That is the truth, which has made emphasis on women's role, which has put the emphasis on women's role at the far back of oppressions. But the women have an integral part, they are part of the society. That is one of the things this paper will be examined. The aim of this paper is to situate properly the place of women in African society, in particular case, Yoruba society, vis-a-vis their involvement in the musical art for social balancing and regulations. Specific objectives are to examine the composition of musical zones owned and controlled by women in Yoruba society, to analyze the song text of music of the identified music ensemble. 3. Discuss the forms of music used by women in the process of their involvement in social formation and regulations. And lastly, elucidate the functions of women musical ensemble in Yoruba society. The methodology, like I said earlier on, etnomüzikological approach, qualitative research method, interview observation method to collect the primary data, archival and ethnographic sources of secondary data gathering. The theory hinges on the theory of Bayo 2007, which we call Ojunwe Osinior. So that's the Yoruba language. It literally means you use the left hand to work the right hand, and you use the right hand. And subsequently, it's called the binary complementary between the Yoruba men and the women in their relationship. Finally, there are 3 ensembles selected, namely Ajumo Ensemble in Badagry, Lagos State, Ibiolo in Kadun Palace in Lagos State, and in Yoloto in Ottawa. These are the musical instruments found in the women musical instruments in Badagry. They are called Ajumo. This is the musical instrument in the Palace of Oba of Lagos, which is called Igadungo. Igadungo is a principal palace in Lagos. Then we have then this is Ibiolo. This is the performance set of Ibiolo. Women sitting and improvising. They don't have particular instrument, they improvise with sorts of women. This is a typical performance setting of Ibiolo in the Palace of Oba of Lagos. And these are the Ajuban performance setting in the Palace of Oba of Badagry. This is an example of a song text. Text and the translation in Ajuban music. The second song here at this play is from the Palace of Oba of Lagos. That's the Yoruba of Lagos. Then this is another song from the Palace of Oloto of Oto. Now, Yoruba language is a very tonal language. It is built as a phonology, built on 3 tone marks, which is called the low, the medium, and the high. Understanding of this, understanding of this text, the text as mentioned literally means a lot of things. For a man to have a proper digest of this text, you must understand the Yoruba language, you must understand the context of usage and the phonology. Because the word in Yoruba language may mean a lot of things. That makes some sense in the music of Yoruba people. And more than music sound, the language behavior, as called by Bemberia, is the language in action. The language that puts in action, the tone, the low, the middle, has a lot to do with understanding that language. And it is when you understand that language, you know the import of the name. The text in Yoruba language, particularly as used in songs, makes use of philosophical nuances like figures of speech, imagery, metaphor, euphemism, allegory, humor, satire, aphorism, and onomatopoeia. So a word may mean different things in Yoruba language. So when a singer in Yoruba language is singing to the praises of the Oba, it will actually be instigating the Oba to an action. And that is what you see these women do. They sit around in the palaces, they sing the praises of their Oba. They chronicle the history of the Oba. From their text, from their performance, you can actually know the history of the Oba. They spur the Oba to action. A lot of things are embedded in their songs that regulate society. They talk about the nuances, about the ethos, about the morals of the society in their songs. That's when properly related to see how they are intimately involved in the society. So understanding the language, the application of that language is very key, very germane to understanding the songs. Yoruba, like I said, it's a very tonal language. A word in Yoruba could be 6 different. So the application means a lot of things. Now, in conclusion, Yoruba language gives due reference to the women gender. That is one of the things this paper has been able to do. That yes, we are particularly male dominated. There are male gods, male everywhere, male being the king, but behind the government, there are a set of women doing what they need to stabilize the society. Because in Yoruba, they will believe the men fight on their arm. The women fight also on their nails. They collaborate in efforts of the men to stabilize the society. And these are reflected in their song. Secondly, the women play complementary role to the men in the process of regulating the Yoruba society. And lastly, the women employ musical arts in discharging their roles in the society. Now, recommendation. More research work needs to be commissioned examining the place of women in Yoruba society. The women are not actually confined to the kitchen in Yoruba society. They are formed part of the society. They are women god in society, in Yoruba society. They are women lead singers. Even in some instances, women king, regents. Customary, a woman must sit on that tree. There are ensembles that are dedicated to the women. There are ensembles that are dedicated to women in social circles. There are ensembles that are dedicated to women in the spiritual circle. There are ensembles that are exclusive to the women. And concerted effort must be made in protecting the Yoruba society in their true form, by extension, African society, as well with adequate space for the women to explore and grow in their art. Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Bayo Ogunyemi.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. It's a very interesting speech about the traditional music, the place of women in the traditional music of Yoruba society.
Thank you.
I think there will be some questions, but we will receive the questions at the end of the session, Dr. Ogunyemi, if it is all right for you. So our guests can write their questions in either in Google Meet or through YouTube, our YouTube channel, and we will send them to Mr. Dr. Bayo Ogunyemi. So thank you very much. You can also write your questions in Turkish too, English too, and we will just translate and ask them to Dr. Ogunyemi. So we will now skip to the second speaker. I think Ivona had just connected, but I cannot see her at the moment. So I think her problem continues. So I will skip to Muhammed Hasib, if it is all right for you, Muhammed. You are fine at the moment about the connection? Great.
Yeah, I'm fine.
I will skip to Muhammed Hasib. His topic is Reconnecting and Mobilizing the Chain of Gulf Migration and Kattu, a very interesting topic. I will give a short biography of Muhammed Hasib. He completed graduation and post-graduation in history with special focus on Indian history and culture from Calicut University, Calcutta. Indian Council for Historical Research has awarded Junior Research Fellowship to him in 2019. He was granted with a scholarship from the Zakat Foundation of India for a full-time preparation of Civil Services Examination of India. He's pursuing his PhD in Mangalore University and working as a faculty member at the Department of History, PSMO College, Kerala. He has professional membership in ICTM, CEM, and other ethnomusicological organizations. He has presented papers at the annual conference of SEM, ICTM, and Research Students Conference jointly organized by the Royal Musical Association, British Forum for Ethnomusicology, and Cambridge University. And his special interest is in the field of Mapila song, a unique musical genre compiled and composed by Mapilas of Malabar. Probably he will construct some connections to decide to during his topic. So I will now firstly give the word to Muhammed Hasib for his very interesting talk. So Muhammed Hasib from India, we are very honored to have you here. Please.
Thank you. Thank you. So let me share my screen.
Okay.
Is it okay?
Mm-hmm. Now it's there. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Mohammed, thank you.
So thank you. Let me start. And myself, Muhammed Hasib from Kerala, India. And I'm thankful to the organizers. And it's my pleasure to be a part of this Women Play, Sing the Earth, Music and Women International Symposium. And it's my honor to present my paper titled Reconnecting and Mobilizing the Chain of Gulf Migration and the Kattu Patu. Kattu Patu hereafter, I'm using the Kattu Patu as well as the letter song for your convenience. The Arab settlement and the spread of Islam exerted a profound impact on the cultural life of Malabar and marked the beginning of socio-cultural synthesis. Mapilas, the Muslim community of the southwest coast of India, have a unique place in the socio-cultural and historical arena of Kerala. Mapila culture has been described as a curious mixture of Indian and Arabian elements, free flow of trade, ideas, and emotion in the Indian Ocean reflected in the multicultural, multi-religious, and multi-ethnic character of Mapilas of Malabar. Mapila literature became much popular mainly because of its affinity with the life of the common people, and it reflected the urges and aspirations of the marginalized. Mapila Patu or Mapila song is a musical genre composed in Arabic Malayalam script. Arabic Malayalam is a hybrid form of writing by mixing the Arabic and Malayalam languages. Mapila folklore succeeded in absorbing multiple voices from various local, regional, and transnational levels. In this chapter, or in this talk, I'm trying to explain the historical background of the letter song, development and its connection with the migration, and also analyze the emergence of Dubai letter song, also known as the Dubai Kattu Patu, and its effect on socio-economic and psychological aspects of the Mapila women. Dutch ethnomusicologist Arnold Adrian Becke visited Malabar in the year of 1938 and recorded the lifestyles of the Mapila community. In his diary, he mentioned about the different types of songs prevalent among the Mapila community. These photographs shown the Mapila women performed Oppana Patu at Pulangodu State, a village in Malabar. And these photographs taken by Arnold Adrian Becke very back in the year of 1938. Malabar experienced a large-scale migration for the last six decades, especially after the year of 1960s. Migration has provided to be the single most dynamic factor contributed for the development of Malabar and one of the parameters behind the concept of Kerala model of development. Malabar, with high incidence of unemployment, contributed to the largest share of labor force migrated to the Gulf countries. From the phase of emotional drain to the latest phase of brain drain, Kerala has been contributing its part more or less the same way. Migration has caused major changes in political, social, and economic behavioral aspects within the Mapila community, especially among the Mapila women. Migration played a crucial role in shifting the role of Mapila women from an housewife to an householder. Gulf migration strengthened the role of Mapila women in the society. The strict life within the Orthodox community began to change, and this change juxtaposed in the lyrics and tunes. Gulf migration provides additional responsibilities to the Mapila women. New responsibilities along with the new challenges resulted in the form of letter song. The proportion of married women living away from their husband has been exponentially increased due to the Gulf migration. Acute absence of information and technology, letters are began to fill the gap between husband and wife in the form of songs. The wife of those migrants, 1 million left behind in Kerala and known locally as the Gulf wife, struggles with loneliness, and 80% of them have never visited their husband abroad. This is where Kattu Paatu or the letter song comes in. The songs emphasize the inner feelings of the Mappila community more than they evoke the economic well-being of the society. Letter songs is a literary form of expression emerged as a byproduct of Gulf migration, especially after the year of 1960. Letter songs are inspired by the letters shared by the migrant husbands and his wife, written in the form of songs. Letter songs belongs to the category of Mappila Paatu genre, and its rhythms and tunes more resemblance with those popular melodies. The musical hermeneutics of the letter reflected in pain of separation, uncertainty of the woman, fear that foreign land might subsume her husband. The eager anticipation of his arrival back home is encompassed by the ultimate anxiety of losing him. They also lament their desperate condition, particularly their landlessness, and hope against for a brighter future is perhaps never to be. These were the lyrical letters in the form of song, which voices were women told their husband about their loneliness, passing youth, the empty conjugal bed, and children who only know their fathers through photographs. A sense of morbid doom usually swamped this letter song. Can I see your face before I die? When are you going to return to homeland? These are the questions echoed in the letters of these particular songs. The songs, written with all the formalism of an old fashion of letter writing, oddly touching, starting with the song, Etreyum Bahumana Pettayende Priya Bhartavu Vaikyuvan, oh my dear respected husband. And this is ending with a great hope for the future. Letter song shows how husband and wife have shared their hopes, anxiety, and the fear. It is also referred to the economic condition, labor system, and reflected the changes in the social relations and values. Though themes of these particular songs are mostly related to the personal life, we can use letter songs as a source to study about the Mappila life and lifestyle. Though romance and list are involved in these, the socio-economic lives are more strongly reflected. Letter song narrates the emotional distress, feeling of loneliness, and the psychological trauma among the Gulf wife. Tunes and lyrics deals with the themes such as separation, dispossession, responsibility, values, social dilemma, and hostile working conditions. Dubai letter song is the most popular among the letter songs. It is about the migration to United Arab Emirates. An organized group also evolved in Malabar to assist those who are not familiar with the writings of the letter. Moinkuti Vaidya, Pulikottil Haidar, Nallalam Biran, so many are there, belongs to this particular movement. Emergence of letter song can be divided into two different phases. First phase attributed to the first half of the 20th century. In the first phase, themes of the songs are mainly related to the collective sacrifice memories against the colonial struggle. Mappila women alienated and separated due to the imprisonment of many male members by the British authority. Maria Kutide Kattu Paatu, Maria Kutide letter songs is the best example to this phase. It narrates the feeling of separation between a woman called Maria Kuti and her husband Hassan Kuti, putting behind the bar in the Bellary jail by the colonialist power. This particular song provides the idea of colonial atrocities and sacrifice of the Mappila women. Please have a listen.
Kadi Prawahaga Samiti Angam Faisal Patav Hassan Kuti.
Studiyanum Salla അസലാമായും തോടിന്തും കൊണ്ട്
Pulikottil Haidar was a popular poet in the first phase who wrote the famous letter songs Mariya Kuttiyude Kattupaattu. This letter song had a background story as well. The story goes like this. Mariya Kutti, the wife of Hassan Kutti, was a very beautiful woman. While Hassan Kutti was in prison, someone tried to seduce her. Because of her disobedience, someone made some rumors about the Mariya Kutti and informed it to her husband Hassan Kutti by a letter. Through a letter, Hassan Kutti, who was misunderstood his wife, sent a letter back to Mariya Kutti's mother informing that he decided to divorce his wife. This letter was a shock to Mariya Kutti. Mariya Kutti letter songs composed by Pulikottil Haidar in order to prove her innocence. It is said that Hassan Kutti changed his decision to divorce his wife after reading the reply song that sent by the Mariya Kutti back to her husband. And this is a gramophone record. So this is the reply song that Kattupaattu can be divided into two, letter song as well as the reply song. And this is the example for the Dubai Kattupaattu.
സ്വന്തം ഭാര്യ എഴുതുന്നതെന്തെന്നാലേറെ പേരീശത്തിൽ ചൊല്ലിടുന്നു
Mahakavi Moingutti Vaidya was one of the most renowned poet in the Mappila Paddu genre. He was the first Mappila poet who liberated Mappila song from the rigid structure of composition. He composed a romantic epic and unique love story between Badrul Munir Husnul Jamal in the year of 1872. This was the first romantic version of the Mappila song. Second phase of the letter songs began after the year of 1960, along with the Gulf migration. The famous poet and singer S.A. Jamil was given birth to the Dubai letter song. When he was in Dubai, it is known as the love letter songs of Kerala. There is no doubt that the Jamil's thought of Dubai letter song is influenced the world of letter songs after the first phase. S.A. Jamil clearly showing inner feelings of women folk. According to S.A. Jamil, the psychological trauma by separation that created by Gulf migration is the reason behind the composing such a letter song. S.A. Jamil is a poet widely associated to the letter song genre of Mappila song. His most popular song composed in the year of 1976. Etrayum Bahumana Petta Priya Bhartavu Vaikuvan. Oh my dear and respected husband. And Abu Dhabi Lulluru Eruthupeti. These are the famous songs composed by the S.A. Jamil in the year of 1976. And let me play one Marubadi song also, in which the husband from abroad wrote some letter in the form of song to his wife. It goes like this.
ഇനി ഒന്നും ഓടിക്കുന്നില്ല എൻ കഥന കഥയെല്ലാം ഇല്ലെങ്കിലും അല്പം കുടിച്ചിടും.
So Dubai Kattupaattu, this is the letter to her, wrote by wife to her husband abroad, requesting his return. And this is Marubadi Kattupaattu reply song written by the husband to his wife in order to give reply to the queries and questions of his wife. And this particular song recorded by using the gramophone technology in the year of 1978. And this song composed by the K.G. Sathar, and this explanation given by a Mappila Paddu critic known as Mr. Faisal Alaji. So the lyrics of the song referred in particular to the sexual and emotional needs of the women and generated both praise and controversy within the community. The second song, composed as the husband's reply, was also based on this interaction with the diaspora of Mappila community during his visit to the Middle East in the year of 1970s. It described the hardship. The reply song described the hardship and emotional dilemma faced by the migrant workers separated from their families. The songs created a huge impact on the whole diaspora community across different regions at the time, prompting many to leave their job and return to their homeland for good. Mapla couple shared their experience of letter song from Parapanangadi village. They still remember the songs and explained about their experience with the letter song. This is my interview. I'm taken from the village Parapanangadi, and they explain the psychological trauma and feelings of the separation due to the Gulf migration, and they also sing in the letter song.
Dear Mohammed, your time is very limited. Please come to the conclusions as soon as possible, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank
you. Thank you. Thank you.
And this is the longest letter written by Yasser Arafat to his wife, 32-meter long letter explain about his experience in Gulf and his concern about his family. And to conclude, letter songs are the symbolic representation and emotional side of the Kerala model of development. Though the era of technological revolution reduced the importance of letter song at larger scale, but still the feelings has been continued one form or the other. Thank you. And this is the reference book. Anybody interested in the Mapla study, you can buy this particular book as well. This is written by one of my professor, Dr. Abdul Sattar. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mohammed. It was a very interesting talk. Thanks for being with us. We are very honored to have you here. Thank you very much. Now we will take the questions later on, just like Dr. Bayo Ogunyemi. Now I am checking again for Ivona. I think she's not here still. She had connected a while ago. Ah, yes, she is here. Ivona, can
I'm
you
so sorry.
Welcome, no problem. You are here. We are very happy about that. And your connection is all right now? It's possible to talk now?
I think I changed all the gadgets and links, so sorry for all inconveniences and technical difficulties.
No problem. It's a very rich session for us. We are very honored to have Dr. Bayo Ogunyemi, Muhammed Hasib, and you from Nigeria, Macedonia, and India, and our final speaker will be from Spain. So very distinguished speakers. So we are very happy about that. There may be some connection problems. No problem. We will overcome it. And now I'd like to give the word to you. I have given your brief biography to the guests. So you are an expert on intangible cultural heritage, and you are working in the Macedonian side of it. So your topic will cover this, also your expertise too. So I would like to give the word to you by the topic, The Missing Puzzle, a portrait of a Macedonian woman musician on traditional musical instruments by Ivona Opetcheska Tatarchevska. Thank you very much, Ivona.
Thank you very much for your patience, and I'm really sorry once again. Thank you for the announcement, and let me first thank to the Dr. Özlem Doğuş-Varli for inviting me and to have my presentation among respective scholars, 72 scholars at this symposium. The project seemed very important to me, not only because of the possibilities to compare the processes on this topic, but also as an inspiration for us in Macedonia to open this topic on national level. These two presentations from Macedonia that you have the opportunity to hear these days are the first papers on this topic of women as an instrumental musicians. And if women dominate in ethnomusicology in Macedonia as a scholarly discipline, and also in vocal music, then in the part of instrumental music, the dominance belongs to men. So,
Ivona, one minute, please. Here, Ivona, sorry. May I ask for all the speakers, of all the participants, other from Ivona, can you please close your microphones and your cameras, please, so that we can hear Ivona much better. Thank you very much. Sorry, Ivona.
It's okay. Let me share now my presentation. So my topic today, you already announced. It is about the missing puzzle in Macedonian music culture, about the Macedonian woman instrumentalist musician on traditional music instruments. Could you help me to find what is the button present now? I have to share the present now.
Yes, present now. You would just press present now.
But I cannot see my presentation on the main screen.
We cannot see it either.
I'm so
hope
sorry.
now it's okay.
Okay now. Okay now, Ivona.
Thank
We
you.
can see it. Please continue.
So the research shows that most historical and also socio-cultural reference points on this topic about the women players, especially for the period before the Second World War, are not capitalized. They are not archived in any manner, and especially are imperceptibly written about the position and role of women players in the development of music culture in Macedonia. There are a lot of writings about women's role as a mother, as a pillar of the family, fighter, nurse, teacher, doctor, even a policymaker. But the role of women musicians, especially women players of traditional musical instruments, has never been significantly researched, developed, and articulated in the scholarly discourse in Macedonia. I have limited myself to talking about the 20th century, especially in the second half, only because of this really difficult to find materials. It's really difficult to find these materials on the subject in the sources. The position of women in Macedonia in the 20th century, generally speaking, depends on her position in the family and household, and this position was directly related to patriarchal residence, property, and legal relations, as well as the system of authority in traditional rural and urban society. Clear gender and age divisions in the family, as well as in society in that period, were very important in this regard. A strong movement for the liberation of women's thought, creativity, and rights may have emerged in Western European gender theory in the mid-70s, but socialism in the former Yugoslavia brought that concept at least 20 years earlier, in early 50s, 1950s, bringing society crowded with girls playing instruments in classical music schools and consequently in amateur, let's say, mandolin orchestras or in cultural artistic societies, associations, folk dance groups, but always on instruments such as violin, guitar, rarely accordion, and clarinets as closest instruments to the old city tradition, and almost never on a drum, zurna, or other traditional music instruments such as kaval, bagpipe, or any of the 4 types of tamburas that are played in Macedonia. Regarding the relations between women and traditional music instruments, the only tradition which can be perceived and is still alive and can be visually recorded in everyday life could be found in the predominantly Muslim communities in Macedonia. In western part of Macedonia, well-known Macedonians, Dorbeshim, and also among the minority communities of Roma, Turkish people, and Albanians, who in their wedding traditions still practice the daire as an accompanying instrument to their singing, not only ritual, but as social also. So, as far as Christian communities are concerned, it is almost impossible to find a woman who play traditional music instrument. The few adult women who as instrumentalists on the tambura, litarka, or on a small drum with a plate with a san appeared at the traditional music festivals in Doldeni, Prile, Bitol, and many more in the 80s and till the late 90s, came from northeastern Macedonia, from the Shopik ethnographic community or group, and mainly nurtured the local repertoire of their village or region. And the main reason for reaching for the instrument was to keep in some way company for their own men. In essence, the festivals were an inspiration and motivation for them to play and present themselves publicly with their instrumental skills. But these rare examples were just tipping points to the emergence of a few urban girls, emergence of a few young girls in the 2000s who began learning to play traditional instruments in order to pursue a career in music. In that context, I would like to mention the first woman professional player of traditional instruments that my colleague Velika Serafimovska introduced to you 2 days ago, that is Bajsa Rifovska, the first female conductor leader of the orchestra of the State Ensemble of Songs and Dances, Tanets from Skopje. Bajsa not only works professionally in the State Ensemble, she also works as a teacher of several instruments at the State Music School, Secondary Music School, Ilya Nikolovsky Lui, from Skopje, as an excellent specialist of music styles of different cultures, primarily from Macedonia and the Balkans. She is also an active studio musician and collaborates with folk artists from Macedonia, Turkey, America, and Middle East, and is truly dedicated to professionally bringing on stage many different music styles. At this point, I want to shortly introduce her music style. She is leading this orchestra and recorded many instrumental melodies and songs.
Sesi duyamıyorum. We cannot hear your video voice.
Excuse me? Mine's,
Unfortunately, maybe you should.
Okay. We should move forward.
Okay.
It is amazing her philanthropic work also. How she is dedicated to the emancipation of the girls from her community. She is a Romani young woman from Delchevo region and works with girls from several different cities, teaching them to play musical instruments because she believed that the Roma people express themselves best through music, which is also some kind of stereotype, but she believes in that. That is her statement. I'll try to illustrate it one more video with her students, how she's coordinated all of them. I'm hearing the sound.
We cannot hear the sound.
My second example, the second example I choose to describe to you is a girl who broke into the Macedonian folk scene as a bagpiper. Her name is Elena Jovčeska. Originating from Prilep, a region of bagpipers, she became very famous very quickly, especially in the countries where there is a diaspora of Macedonians, Australia, Canada, and America. But the commercial interest took this girl to some other musical waters, so that the bagpipe has been neglected lately. It is interesting to mention that in parallel with these two ladies, on the Macedonian music scene, under the category of world music, or maybe it's better to define them as a new age band, appeared one band composed and formed of 4 girls, Peria, all multi-instrumentalists who have completely dedicated their everyday life to playing the instruments, studying, mastering the repertoire, living from their music in some specific nomadic way as a nomads, sometimes on the streets. And after traveling around the world almost 10 years, 2 years ago, they released their first album, after which the stage in Macedonia accepted them on a flat foot. And for now, they became a part of the team that is fighting for Skopje to become the European capital of culture in 2028. For illustration, very briefly, if it's possible, I want to show you one example just to listen them.
We cannot hear your video voice, Ivona, and you use an headphone, Ivona?
Excuse me, I will share all these videos and links through the chat, in the chat room, if it's possible.
Great, Ivona, thank you. If we will have some time, maybe we can directly watch them through YouTube at the end of the session.
Yes, that will be nice, because the videos are longer than this example.
If you can please the links, we will maybe have the chance to listen them.
Just to conclude, and afterward I will share.
Great, Ivona, thank you.
So, gender as an identity in the Macedonian folk culture contributes to rounding off and illuminating the image of the patriarchal model that ruled in Macedonian society for centuries, and whose features are visible till today, along with its departures. We believe that being aware of the many restrictive and discriminatory patterns that were characteristic of society, in addition to the level of resistance to changing traditions by men as privilege again, contributes to their continuous transformation and all that is result of changes in the cultural, economic, political, and social context in which we live. The profile of today's female traditional music instrumentalists in Macedonia has been completely changed, from a housewife or daughter playing to encourage her husband, father, or brother to appear at a festival, to a young, urban, educated, and self-conscious female musician who is spiritually devoted to her instrument. That is still a long way of internal and external battle, of course, with stereotypes, and that is why, at the end of my presentation, I want to thank you with one small short video again. I choose Baisa as an example. She is a master on 15 instruments, as you heard, and perform instrumental dance Yeni Yol in a Chalgian manner. I'm really thankful for your attention and patience. Let's try this time to hear Baisa. If it's not possible, I will share again. She is a clarinet soloist, but accompanied by an exclusively male orchestra.
Ivona, we cannot hear it again. Maybe you can just share the link, and at the end of the session,
of course,
we will play it.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for your kind attention.
Biz teşekkür ederiz. Thank you very much. Ivona, it was a very interesting speech, just representing the Macedonian music scene and the effect of women there. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. And Karin Bindo had shared, I think, the link. Thank you very much for the representation, for the presentation. Thank you very much, Ivona.
You're welcome.
And it is a great honor to have all these distinguished speakers in the last session from different countries. And now we skip to Spain this time to hear the recorded speech, this time of a very distinguished speaker, Virginia Sanchez Rodriguez. She will talk about the female musical performance in the Spanish cinema during the Franco regime between 1939 and 1975. I will just give a brief biography of the distinguished speaker. She will not connect online due to some possible problems about the internet connection. She had sent his speech beforehand, but I will give a short biography of Dr. Virginia Sanchez Rodriguez, but all of your questions are welcome and they will be sent to the speaker. Virginia Sanchez Rodriguez is an assistant professor of musicology at the University of Castilla-La Mancha, Spain, and the researcher at the Centro de Investigación de Documentación Musical, which is the short term is CIDOM, in association with the Spanish National Research Council. She holds a PhD in musicology that he had finished in 2013 from the Universidad de Salamanca, from where she was also awarded a Bachelor of Arts in Art History in 2009, and then a Master of Arts in Hispanic Music in 2010. Her principal fields of research include European women in music during the 19th and 20th centuries, Spanish folk music, and Spanish music in film, specializing in the gender perspective. She is an author of 5 books. She has over 100 publications in Spanish and in international books and journals. She had served as editor-in-chief of Cuadernos de Investigación Musical since 2016. So we are very happy and honored to hear the speech of Dr. Virginia Sanchez Rodriguez, female musical performance in the Spanish cinema during the Franco regime, which will be broadcasted now from the video, via the video. Thank you very much.
Please, could you
Yes. Ivona, can you please stop your share screen, dear Ivona? Yes, thank you very much. Dear guests, I would like to ask to all of you to close your cameras and microphones, please, so that we can hear the speech of Dr. Sanchez in a comfortable way. Thank you very much.
Hi. I'm Virginia Sanchez Rodriguez, Assistant Professor at the University of Castilla-La Mancha in Spain. First of all, I would like to thank the scientific committee for having taken my paper into account in the Women Play Sing the Earth Music and Women International Symposium. The title of my presentation is Female Musical Performance in the Spanish Cinema during the Franco regime, 1939-1975. As you will see, in my paper, I propose a study to the way in which women have been linked to musical performance in the Western context, specifically in Spain, in the last 20th century. But beyond the geographic and chronological context, my intention is to demonstrate through the study of a case that cinema could be understood as a mirror that allows us to know what the societies of the past were like and how the music and interpretation was approached by the Spanish women of the mid-20th century thanks to the union of image and sound. If we carry out a review of the encyclopedias and academic studies, we can verify that the books are full of men's names. Meanwhile, the names of women linked to music in the Western culture are very scarce, despite the fact that in the past there were numerous women dedicated to this artistic discipline as it happens today. Fortunately, in recent decades, the number of publications dedicated to the female presence in musical art has been increased. Most of the academic works have been aimed at vindicating her compositive facet, along with a feminine look and music in its most diverse aspects. However, beyond female composers, it should be said that the largest number of interpreters throughout history have been women, especially in the domestic sphere, singing to children or during the performing of household duties. This reality on occasions has been reflected in cinema because the visual media can show the configuration and social pattern of different historical moments. Moreover, some films are also show gender roles in this context. Considering that circumstance in this paper, we make an approach to the female musical presence in Spain through the cinema in the middle of the 20th century during the Francoist dictatorship between 1939 and 1975. Specifically, the starting point of this work seeks an answer to the following question: what place does women occupy from a quantitative and a qualitative perspective in musical performance as reflected in the films of the time? To answer to this question, I have studied 120 films from that chronology. The methodology was the following. After the visualization of all the movies, I have analyzed gender roles represented by different characters, but also I have studied the repertoire and the musical instruments linked to the female figure. I will offer the results obtained, but first of all, I would like to make a brief mention to the political context of the study. Well, how was Spain during the context of this research? In 1939, Spanish Civil War ended with the victory of the national rebel side led by Francisco Franco. After a 3 years conflict happened between 1936 and 1939, the Franco regime was a dictatorship whose guidelines conditioned the social, political, and cultural life of Spain between 1939 and 1975. Despite the impoverishment of the post-war years, characterized by autarky politics, from the early 60s was a stage of economic stabilization as the result of the increasing openness situation and institutional reforms. This positive condition coincided with the period called the Desarrollismo, between 1959 and 1975, the end of that era. Especially in this last period, a consumption of cultural industries increased, highlighting the relevance of cinema. During the Francoist, cinema was the most successful art, in part thanks to the passion that the dictator felt for film industry, and particularly according to the use of audiovisuals as an ideological indoctrination medium. But in addition to this, in this work, I defend that cinema can be understood as a mirror of the female musical practices at the time. After studying more than 120 films, we have been able to verify the presence of the female figure in three contexts. On the one hand, there is a high number of female vocal performances linked to urban contemporary music. This relationship between women and this style is the most repeated. In part, this is due to the prominence of musical cinema and the presence of prominent artists of the time from different genres. In the 40s and 50s films, musical performances are mainly linked to the copla and flamenco. The leading role of the copla and flamenco is also maintained in films of later decades. However, during the last stage of the Franco regime, The predominant female style is pop, as we can see throughout the vocal performance of singers such as Karina, Ivona, Marisol, Concha Velasco, or Rocío Dúrcal. Precisely, that style of music was the one most listened to by young people, which is why films recreate the usual social uses of the time to show a modern image of the country. On the other hand, the leading role of women compared to the place of men is as an interpreter of folk oral traditional music, and that is maintained even in the last stage of the Franco regime, despite the fact that the country was modernized thanks to the arrival of new sounds. In part, this link to tradition is related to the ideology of dictatorship, since during the Franco regime, most of the Spanish women had the exclusive dedication to their home as a wife and as a mother as their primary objective, outside the professional scope, in accordance with the implantation of a traditional mentality. But the most important thing is that this folk repertoire, in addition, is represented within the reality in the original context where that melodies arouse. In a large number of films, women perform songs according to the annual cycle. The most numerous musical testimonies are the Christmas carols, and they also develop musical manifestations linked to the human life cycle. That is the case of the songs related to birth and childhood. Lullabies acquire a significant role in Franco's filmography. Children's play songs and work songs are also represented in the cinema produced during the Franco regime. But about instrumental performance. The female performing in the folk context has to do especially with singing. Scarcely a woman can be accompanied by herself by a guitar, as it is shown in the film Viridiana by Luis Buñuel. As we can see, this is an amateur performing. We can listen a non-professional musical result where entertainment is the most important. Furthermore, women can appear in some films made during the Franco regime linked to instrumental performance around academic, classical, cultured music, although we must point out that this film presence is also scarce. The only instrument located during the 120 films sampling is the piano. Moreover, female interpretation of cultural piano music occurs almost exclusively at home. This is something common because since the end of the 20th century, music was considered as a useful skill as a part of medium-high social class young women. What is more, playing an instrument and singing were good social investments, but on the contrary, studying music theory and composition were considered as unnecessary, as Eva Rieger affirms. We can observe this connection of women to the piano performance at home as a part of the female education of an upper middle social class, but only in a small number of films. Ultimately, this sustained presence is a reflection of society itself during the Franco regime, since most of the population belonged to a lower and middle class without the possibility of an artistic education. As I have already mentioned, from a sampling based on the study of 120 films, the association of women with the piano in the domestic sphere is only represented in 5 films whose titles you can see on screen. You can see that they all coincide in the same chronology, 60s and 70s, and are films created during the last stage of the Franco regime. All of them, moreover, coincide in being directed by renowned filmmakers at the time, and are films characterized by their critical approach. In relation to the repertoire, cultured music is the only performed with pieces composed in most cases by men: Paradis, Chopin, Monpou. In one of the films, La Prima Angelica, Cousin Angelica, the female interpreter performs an unknown work to the listener, but next to the classical style. A significant case is observed in other of the movies, Homicidios in Chicago, Murders in Chicago, where the main character performs an original piano piece composed by Anna Satrova, the women composer of the original soundtrack. That is the only piano composition composed by a woman in the films analyzed. Thus, no pattern is observed regarding the nationality of the composers, since Paradisi is Italian, Chopin is Polish, Anna Satrova is Argentinian, and finally, the film Three Acuerdos integrates a piece by a Spanish nationalist composer, Federico Monteau. In addition, it should be said that the film Mi Querida Señorita, My Dear Young Lady, does not host the original interpretation of Tristesse, the etude by Chopin, which is highly complex. Instead, the character performs a simple cover. Even so, despite the simplicity, here and in the remaining movies, the actresses do playback. It is not a barista performance at the piano. Regarding the social aspect, in all cases, we are facing amateur, non-professional interpretation, which are part of the social use of music. Thus, all the performances are done at home, except for El Ángel Exterminador, the exterminating angel, where the performance takes place at a distinguished party. The other films show an intimate use of music. Finally, in terms of gender roles, a special case is observed in the film Mi Querida Señorita, My Dear Young Lady. This is because the main role is not a woman from a biological point of view, although she always grew up as a woman. As a part of this upper middle class female education, the main character had received some piano lessons, and she usually plays the piano at home as an entertainment comparable to reading or sewing. However, when she realized that she is in reality a man from a biological point of view, the character undergoes a transformation that affects his dress style and also the musical link, and he does not play the piano again. Thus, piano performance is linked, therefore, to gender roles. To sum up, analysis of 120 films, we can affirm that the most important number of films with female musicians appear in 60s and 70s Spanish movies. After the perusal of sampling, we can verify the reiteration of priority women in musical links. On the one hand, there is a great role in the case of women singing traditional and urban music during the almost 40 years in which the dictatorship was extended. On the other hand, they are also women linked to musical interpretation of cultural music, mainly around the piano, and although these scenes are less numerous, they are representative for their social and ideological value. In the case of piano performances, it should be noted that they are non-professional interpretation, that gender social roles are relevant, and that performances are made as a part of the entertainment at home that is devoid of any type of intellectual claim. Well, I put myself at your disposal to answer any question, and I hope we can coincide in future academic events. Thank you for your kind attention and best wishes.
Cenk Hocam?
Evet.
Bitti.
Thank you very much for this wonderful talk again by Virginia Sanchez Rodriguez, our dear guest from Spain. So we had a very colorful session. I think it was the very right session to conclude the symposium. But of course, before the conclusion of the scientific sessions, maybe we will have some questions about the speeches of our distinguished speakers. I'm just checking it through the chat screen. I observe a question by Karim Bindu to Muhammed Hasib, but it was already answered. Maybe he will have some more words to say about it. Dear Muhammed Hasib, it was a pleasure to hear somebody from Kerala, my second home. A question: are you in contact with Rolf Kilius, who recently made a film about the Mapila community? And her second question: are the Mapila women playing drums namaskaram? Muhammed Hasib has already answered that, but maybe you will give some details, dear Muhammed. So the word is to you. I'm giving the word to you if you want. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Singh. And thank you, Karim Bindu, and namaskaram. And I'm very glad to see you here. And I think you're from Kerala. I don't know which part of you. Could you please tell me which part of Kerala you belongs to?
I'm not actually from Kerala, but so I feel in my heart it is like a second home because I've done my field research there. And I'm visiting Kerala since 1991. So I started to study tablas there and also a little bit of mridangam. And so my heart is really attached to Kerala.
Wow, good to hear that, dear Karim Bindu.
Thank you.
So as far as your first question is concerned, I know the Rolf Kilius, ethnomusicologist, and that particular project about the Mapila community, actually last year we completed together. And that might be you referring to. And regarding your second questions about whether any particular drums or the instruments type is there for the Mapila women, and it's not like Mapila women doesn't have any particular instrument as such, but many of the Mapila women, as you know that very well, they also perform some kinds of drums in the like of duff. In Arabic, we can call it as duff, a small instruments like tabla, you know that. So they also they performed that type of small instrument, but it's not like a particular instrument they doesn't have. Is that satisfy your question, dear Karim Bindu?
Yes, thank you. Yes, because I knew about the tapu drums, so the frame drums, the Mapila communities having. So I have seen several performances, but mostly done by men. That was, I was interested, because normally women, they used to play the drums during marriage rituals and so on. So there are only few occasions they are playing the drums among themselves, not in the public.
So that's great. Great. Being I'm from a history background, I may add one more point that the same instrument which you might seen in the video taken by Rolf Kilius, the history of that instrument goes back to the Arabia. And you know the Prophet Muhammad, once he migrated from Makkah to Medina, the episode popularly known as the Hijrah, and the Medina women welcomed the Prophet by using that particular small instrument. The introduction of that instrument actually done by the female, but in Kerala, most of the time that instruments mainly used by the men. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Karim Bindu. Thank you, Muhammed, for your questions and answers. Yes, Dr. Bayo Ogunyemi had to leave the meeting because of a Senate meeting that will occur now. If you have some questions to Dr. Bayo Ogunyemi, we can just send him via the email, but I cannot observe any question to him at the moment. I'm just checking it now. No questions yet to Dr. Ogunyemi. And do we have any questions, further questions to Virginia Sanchez Rodriguez? If you have any questions, you can just write these questions via the chat screen or the YouTube chat screen now. And if you have further questions to Muhammed Hasib, please remind us about these too. I cannot observe any further question now. Özlem Davuşvarlı is raising her hand. Please, Professor Varlı, take the word now.
You. Thank you very much to all participants. Thank you. It's very interesting. It's an interesting presentation. My question to Muhammed Hasib. I wonder about changing. You said after the migration to Gulf and especially to Dubai, like this. And you mentioned about the change. Change became in only text because, as far as I can hear, music genre is a kind of Bollywood song, and this is change. This is change or not? Kattu for Kattu.
Thank you. Thank you, dear Oslam Doggers, and I'm thankful to you for giving me such a wonderful opportunity to interact with you people. So, as far as your question is concerned, that is fantastic, absolutely. The Mappila Patta in general, written by many of the Mappila poets in the form of Arabic Malayalam language. Arabic Malayalam language actually in a hybrid variety in Kerala that actually we can call it as a mixture of Arabic along with the Malayalam. Kattu Patta also generally written by using this Arabic Malayalam script, and that happened the first phase of the 20th century and the last phase of the 19th century. Most of the letter songs are written in the form of or by using the script of the Arabic Malayalam. After the year of 1960, the second phase of the letter songs, mainly the songs are composed in pure Malayalam. Oh, exactly, you are right. There was a shift that happened from first phase to second phase. The first phase, many of the Malayalam written only by using the Arabic Malayalam script. Second half of the 20th century, after the year of 1970, the dialect completely changed and many of them now writing in Malayalam mainly. I hope that answer your question.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Özlem Hocam. Thank you, Muhammed, for your question and answer. Now, a question for Ivona Tatarchevska by Karim Bindu. She asks if you have started to archive the music of female musicians in Macedonia now. Yes, this is the question, Ivona.
Thank you very much for the question. As I mentioned, there is no systematic archiving or completing the documents in the in institutional manner. In institutions, there is no any single database about the female musicians. Even for the classical musicians, there are few monographs about piano players, few singers from the period between two world wars. But unfortunately, there is no database anywhere about the female musicians on traditional instruments. There was a huge project about the role of the Macedonian female in the Macedonian society, in the let's say in the institutionalizing of the state. But that was only from the perspective of the politicians, few artists, which were somehow connected with the politics in that time, after the Second World War. But the music was not subject of matter till now. I hope that we will start with this.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for your answer.
Welcome.
Thank you.
It is, in fact, a common problem in all Balkan countries. We also lack such an archive, and we should always, all of us, work for such a archive on Balkan music. It should be great because it's a joint work that all the countries should take place, I think. So.
Yes. I was amazed with this idea about the project, so it is a really great idea.
Thank you. If there is no other question, maybe we can close the session by giving a musical example by Ivona. I have already prepared one of these. we have a few minutes, and maybe we can close the session with some wonderful music from Macedonia. If I can share it, I will try. Maybe Özlem Hocam can share it who will like. But let me try to share so that let's share a window. No. Okay. Yes, it's a wonderful oro from Macedonia. Again, we have played such oros and many other forms in our different orchestras. So it is very enthusiastic to hear it now. Thank you very much, Ivona.
You're welcome anytime.
Welcome. And these again, horos and oros, kolos are our common musical repertoire. In Balkan regions.
A very common legacy
Yes.
we have. So that was also provocation to work in this project.
Yes, thank you very much, Ivona, for both the presentation and the, reminding us about the project. And I think now we should finish the final session. It was a very interesting session in every sense. It is very interesting to see how great communities, common points are there between the musical cultures of Nigeria, India, Spain, Macedonia and Turkey, of course. And it is very interesting to see how rich and common, in fact, the musical world is. So I think it was a session that just represented the soul of Etnomüzikoloji Association. So I'd like to thank all the participants here, and of course to the Etnomüzikoloji Association, to Professor Varlı, and all the people who put great effort in this organization, in this wonderful organization. Thank you, Özlem Hocam.
Thank you very much, Professor Cenk Yuray. And I want to say something before to close this session, and also the last performance session will start in 2 minutes, and I want to say about them this video. And last performer is Nargile Mehdiyeva from Georgia. And she is from Georgia, Borçalı village, and she's an aşık and play an aşık saz. And I want to connect on our YouTube page at the same time, because this closing session at the same time. And then I want to say some thanks to all participants, scientific committee and organizing committee also. And okay, shall I? Okay, açmam. I have to open. Yes.
Etnomüzikoloji Derneği tarafından düzenlenen Kadınlar Dünyayı Söylüyor. Müzik ve Kadın Sempozyumu düzenleme kuruluna ve bütün katılımcı izleyicilere Gürcistan'dan kucak dolusu selamlarımı ve sevgilerimi gönderiyorum. Aşık Nargile Mehdiyeva.
Sana Shanga,